Every American as much money as Jeff Bezos has. We should demand it. Where's my money, Joe? That's what I had tweeted because, you know, they're getting ready for another $1.9 trillion to send out, and they're trying to allocate who gets it this time. And of course, the last go around, we saw basically the oligarchs plunder most of it. Ordinary people did receive quite a bit, but now they're handing out some more money.
You know, the problem is the money itself. That's the problem. So therefore, the solution to any of the perceived problems can never be to hand out more of the foundational problem, and that is the money itself. This fiat money, since 1971, no fiat money in the world has ever been really now connected to anything that you would equate with a store of value. It's just basically an accounting fraud. Essentially, in the United States, they print trillions and trillions of dollars. They claw back some of that in taxes, which is completely unnecessary. They drop it by the trillions on the pallet load full in places like Iraq without any accountability whatsoever. And then there's always this question like, why is everything so messed up? Why is the country falling apart? Why is there social unrest? Without understanding, and Paul Krugman is got to be the most blind to this of anyone in the United States. It's the money.
What's that saying? Something along the lines of like, if you show me who pays them, then I'll show you the incentive structure.
Charlie Munger.
Charlie Munger. So, you know, you tune into the cable news, you tune into any political debate, and what you see is the fact that, as Dominic Frisby points out in the interview that you're about to see, is all of these measures going back to ancient Mesopotamia start as a temporary thing. Always the population only allows it if there's a war or a crisis. So thus it becomes, especially in a fiat age, a permanent crisis. We have permanent financial collapse. We have permanent wars. I don't know how many my taxes right now go to support around the world, but there are plenty of them right now happening. So you have permanent, bad times, permanent pessimism. That's why in Bitcoin, what we call it, and that was the title of our New Year's Eve show, is relentless optimism, because all the incentives are not to have war, not to waste it on killing people around the world that you don't even know for no reason at all. So I think we could change that.
It's funny because back in the medieval times, the problem were despots and kings, and they had the authority to just take not money, but pay in kind, as it was called. We take part of your crop. We take your part of your family. We'll take your daughter. You know, we'll take whatever we want to take. And then there was this whole process starting with Magna Carta, leading to the Enlightenment, leading to the rights of man, leading to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, where there was power was supposed to be balanced in the social contract, as John Locke called it. But what we've got now in the United States and around the world is a return to despotism, the taxation based on the spurious. It's just spurious taxation without any accountability. That we're back to the Middle Ages.
Bitcoin is holding it accountable, and that's what you see on CNBC. Actually, there are literally presenters going on there and pleading with the U.S. government to do something to stop it, because the U.S. dollar will die, they're saying, if this continues. So remember, last year in, what was it, April or May, when we handed out $1,200 to everybody under a certain income, well, that $1,200 stimulus is now worth $7,809. That's up 551%. Since then, of course, I mean, a lot of stuff is up a lot, right? That's the taxation without legislation, as Dominic Frisby calls it. That's the inflation that is happening. Inflation is taxation.
Well, this is the ultimate win-win-win for people who have a ability to see clearly. The problem, the reason why Bitcoin is skyrocketing is because there's hyperinflation in America, and the US dollar is in a hyperinflationary collapse against Bitcoin. And the solution, as we've been describing by these policymakers, will always be to print more money. So that means that Bitcoin is on a one-way trip higher because they have no other policy solution than to print money. So therefore, that stimulus money is up 500 or 600%. It's going to be up 6,000%. And it's going to and continue to go higher because the policymakers are this arbitrary despotism we see in Washington and other power centers around the world is fueled by hubris, and rank imbecility. And they're just going to keep printing. And, well, you know, my Bitcoin's up 9 million% since I first bought it. And it's probably going to go up another 40x.
Well, the hyperinflation, of course, is it's a political event. It's when people lose faith in the institutions that are governing the currency, governing the money. And we certainly see that. We've seen that with the disintegration, in riots across the world, but also in America, because back in 2008, they weren't, we had Occupy Wall Street that happened, and that was quickly dispersed. But it does seem like there's like breakaway sort of groups starting to be dissatisfied. And I think that could be a sign of that. And Bitcoin, that Bitcoin price is showing you $7,809 for that 1,200 stimulus check. It's up 551% since it was first issued. That's like how the wealthy get to live, right? They front run everybody. These more checks are coming. Biden's meeting with Jamie Dimon and all these bankers to decide, how much. He's telling them what he's going to give you so that Jamie Dimon can make sure he stays a billionaire, right? And that you get, the ordinary chump getting some money that doesn't inflate away. Because he doesn't want to pay taxes, right? Because remember, Dominic Frisby says inflation is a tax. So he doesn't want to pay those taxes. He's not going to pay them. So what's he going to do? He's going to buy Bitcoin. He's going to buy assets. He's going to buy commodities like Stan Druckenmiller. He's going to go very, very short the dollar like Stan Druckenmiller. He's going to, buy Modigliani's, as Max always says, or Picasso's.
Yeah, Jamie Dimon is the Dr. Kevorkian of economics. If he shows up in your office, you've got trouble, big trouble. And there's the administration talking to this euthanasia doctor named Jamie Dimon about how best to euthanize America. And Jamie says the best way to euthanize America is to print money.
Well, certainly the U.S. dollar, euthanize the U.S. dollar, and it could be better for everybody after it's gone. So hopefully, for the majority of people, and I don't think it's going to be so good for the Jamie Dimons of the world, but for the bottom 99%, I think it's going to be better if it's not the reserve currency, because remember, you have to run a massive trade deficit to have the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Sure, they get to, be men with guns and thuggery and, beat people up that they don't like in Iran or Venezuela or whatever, and they get to shut them off from the grid, but at a huge cost to your own domestic population. Now we look at another Bitcoin story, and of course, this is kind of funny because everybody hates Elon Musk, of course, on Wall Street. Everybody hates him in the mainstream media, that he keeps succeeding. He keeps delivering results for his shareholders, whether it's in Tesla or SpaceX. He keeps like everybody, kind of in the mainstream media, the orthodoxy, they wanted his SpaceX to fail, but it was brilliant. It went to the space station, it delivered all that stuff. Well, as we covered, he bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin for Tesla. Tesla are already up over $500 million on their Bitcoin investment, nearly outperforming their entire 2020 earnings of $721 million.
They've made more on their Tesla investment in less than 6 months than they've ever made in the entirety on their business of selling cars.
Yes, on their Bitcoin rather than their Tesla.
On their Bitcoin.
And that actually brings up, they could have bought instead more their own shares. That's the standard thing to do. But Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy blew that operation out of the water.
Well, because as I've explained, this is based on the 1993 Soros attack on the Bank of England, which was a speculative attack. He could borrow money cheaply from these banks and attack a big bank like the Bank of England, and force them out of the European exchange rate mechanism, and made a quick $1 billion. And Stan Druckenmiller orchestrated that speculative attack. This is a speculative attack that Elon Musk is making on the Fed. Right? So he's already gone to war with the SEC, the SEC. He's already gone to war with the SEC, and he's shown them to be venal and captured. Now he's gone to war with the Fed and say, I'm not going to buy back my own stock. I'm going to take your cheap money. I'm going to buy Bitcoin like Michael Saylor's doing. And now, 500 other CEOs in the S&P 500 are like, you know what? That's a darn good idea.
The SEC? Is that what you call it?
The SEC.
Is that the word you use on Wall Street?
The SEC. Yeah, it's like an abbreviation, the SEC. Yeah, the SEC.